Power Grid is a classic route building and auction game from designer Friedemann Friese that's published by Rio Grande Games.
In Power Grid, players compete to build the largest powered network of cities by building power plants and connecting cities. It supports 2 to 6 players, and it plays out in 2 to 3 hours. It also has 4 game board expansions, which give you new maps. It has 2 mini expansions, a card expansion, which gives you extra power plant cards, and a robots expansion, which gives you an AI player.
So players begin Power Grid by deciding which side of the two-sided map board to use, the USA or Germany. You're then going to decide which adjacent map areas are going to be available, and you usually choose 1 per player. After that, everybody gets their set of colored tokens, as well as 50 electro, which is the currency of the game.
Next, players draw lots for player order, and the resource market is filled. Then we create the power plant market. So power plants 3 through 10 are placed face up, with 4 at the top, that's the actual market, and 4 below, that's the futures market. The rest of the power plants are placed in a stack face down, and the top card is power plant number 13, which is an ecological plant.
So Power Grid is played in 3 steps that are going to affect how the resource market is refilled and create minor rule changes. The step number determines how many players can connect to one city. 1 player in step 1, 2 in step 2, and so on. Step 2 is triggered once 1 player has connected 7 cities, while step 3 is triggered once that card for it is drawn from the power plant deck.
So each round of the game consists of 5 phases: determining player order, the power plant auction, buying resources, building, and bureaucracy. Player order is determined by the number of connected cities that a player has. The player who has the most goes first. If there's a tie, then the player who has a power plant with the highest number on it goes first.
The active player starts the auction phase by bidding on one of the 4 plants in the actual market. Plant's cost is in its upper left, and the resources it uses, as well as how many cities it powers, are on the bottom. The minimum bid is the cost of the power plant, and other players can then choose to either outbid you or they can pass. Now, if you pass during an auction, you're not going to be able to come back in and bid later on the same plant.
So the auction's winner pays the cost to the bank and then takes that power plant and puts it in front of them. Immediately, the empty spot in the power plant market is replaced with the top card from the face down deck. Then the market is rearranged so that the top 4 cards, which is the actual market, is always the 4 power plants with the lowest numbers on them. In the first round, every player has to buy a power plant, but at any point during the game, each player can only have 3 plants.
So after the auction, every player can buy resources to power their plants, going in reverse player order. You're going to pay the cost of the resource space that you take the token from, and each power plant can store twice as many resources as it uses.
Next, players build connections between cities, also in reverse player order. So to do this, you play the cost of the connection, plus $10, $15, or $20 if it is the first, second, or third connection to a city. Then the player places one of their house tokens in that city. Now you can connect 2 cities that are further apart, but you have to pay every connection cost between them. When you add a new house marker to the board, it has to be connected to your current network. You can't create a new one.
During the final bureaucracy phase, players are going to use their resources to power their cities and collect electro for the number of cities they power. Then you're going to refill the resource market, starting with the most expensive empty slots. Now, if you run out of one type of resource token because somebody's hoarding them, then there's a shortage.
Finally, the highest numbered power plant in the future market is removed and placed on the bottom of the face-down power plant deck. That card is replaced, and then the market is rearranged as necessary. So the game continues in this way until 1 or more players connect 17 cities. At that point, the winner is the person who can power the most cities. Now, that's not necessarily the person who has the most cities. If there's a tie, then the player with the most money wins.
So one of the great things about Power Grid is that auction element that you use to get your power plants. It's really interactive, and it adds a level of direct competition between players that you don't see so often in classic Euros, so it really adds a neat flavor to the game. There's also a huge amount of variety with both the different kinds of power plant cards and the different map areas you can use, the different sides of the map, as well as all of the map expansions. All of that together is really going to boost the replay value. A couple of potential cons. The theme is very well done. The art is pretty industrial, everything ties together really well. It's a well-executed game, but not everybody is going to be turned on by the idea of managing a power grid necessarily. Another interesting thing about this game is that although the gameplay is super smooth and simple, the bookkeeping can get a little fiddly. Remembering how to refill the resource market, or whether you're going in regular player order or reverse order, is going to take a little bit of practice and a little bit of getting used to, and might slow you down a little the first time.
So another potential con to this game is it is very math heavy. So there's a lot of calculation in this game, and a lot of those calculations aren't done with very nice numbers. They're odd numbers, and it's going to be a little harder than just 5s and 10s. Also, there's a real benefit that you get from playing this game a lot. So beginners who don't know the power plant cards quite as well are going to have a little bit of a harder time playing with more experienced players. However, great thing about this game is the strategy. There's so little randomness in this game that if you're the kind of player who does very well planning long term, figuring out what your moves are going to be a long way in advance, you're going to do very well here, and you're really going to enjoy it. That's definitely the kind of game for that kind of player.